Oh yeah, what it do, y'all? It is the major Astro head. Hold on, gotta do this. Thrice Majestus. And there we go, we're back. I am here today to read the birth chart of the United States of America. Now, this is a disclaimer. I'm offering my thoughts and opinions on the astrological makeout of the United States of America. This is in no way, shape, or form to be political or anything like that. Any and all political affiliations have absolutely nothing to do with major astrology, nor myself. So, now that that's out of the way, let's begin. So, United States of America was born on the 4th of July, 1776 at 5:10 p.m., also 1710 military time, whatever. Philadelphia, PA. Thus, the chart starts in Sagittarius, suggesting both, that the United States is a Sagittarius rising. Now, we're going to start in house 1, go through all the other houses. Sag risings are interesting because the main energy of Sagittarius is that of the explorer, the wisdom collector, the experience collector. And we can see that, wherever somebody's rising sign is, that's one of the big three: sun, moon, rising. I'm of the opinion that the rising sign is the most important because it starts the whole fucking chart. It starts a whole bunch of everything, determines what kind of planetary person or entity the entity in question is. In this case, the United States is Jupiterian. I'll get to that later on. But Sagittarius rising is interesting because for a country, I feel very strongly that the energy of the rising sign is kind of like a blanket or the vibe that said entity gives out. And so this is the same kind of vibe that United States gives out, the explorer or the expansion of. The country started in Philadelphia and then expanded, or where is now known as Philadelphia, and expanded to what we know it now to be today. And a lot of people may attribute that to colonization, or being imperialists. That's kind of like the quote unquote dark side of the exploration parts of our country's history, or this country's history if you're watching from outside the United States. It's at 12 degrees. The ascendant is at 12 degrees Sagittarius. 12 is a Pisces degree. So whenever we're dealing with degrees, what I like to explain is taking a little bit of that. That's every degree is indicative of a sign. And so I take a little bit of that sign's goodness and sprinkle it on top of whatever the fuck we're talking about as like sprinkles. You put sprinkles on ice cream and shit like that. So this is basically Sagittarius rising with Pisces sprinkles. Pisces, we'll talk about that a little bit more. Pretty much, long story short, is the ethereal one, the spiritual one, which if you think about it, this kind of ties into what some people may say, the country, the government, whatever, is ruled by entities that are ethereal, but that's literally all I'll say about that. This also suggests that there's a sort of emphasis on the spiritual aspect of life. And whatever those who are in this country tend to gravitate towards. So with it being Sagittarius and Pisces are both under Jupiter, which deals with spirituality in certain ways. But the Sagittarian kind is more, like think about Sagittarius linked to the ninth house, which we'll get to, but it's more religious based. You know what I'm saying? So this is mixing religion with spirituality, which stands to suggest why there might be such a strong emphasis on religion being the only spirituality in this country. And it's not just this country that does that, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like if a dominant religion is like present within this country and they kind of use like a pilgrimage or expansion, exploration, to spread the gospel. See what I'm saying? There's an emphasis on that. And with those two kind of coming together, it kind of makes sense that there's an emphasis on, oh, you have to make sure that, you're doing what you got to do. But as long as you unite under the one true ruler, I won't say who, then, you be all right. If you don't, then you're pretty much damned to HE double hockey sticks forever. So that is the ascendant. That is the first house. The first house, setting cover first house. The first house is the identity, what the entity in question identifies as or expresses into the world. The United States, this suggests that the United States may express itself into the world as explorers, as, I said the C word already, so I'm not going to say it again, but C word. And those who just want to make things a lot better. You know what I'm saying? Better, bigger. Sagittarius, again, is the main thing that wants to gather, wants to collect experiences. You know what I'm saying? So like this can be indicative of its the country's acquisition of lands such as Hawaii and Alaska, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, the United States Virgin Islands, etc. These are just examples that's coming to my head, but this is something to keep in mind. So it identifies as an expander, an explorer, a collector of wisdom. It may also, be indicative of the people who may or may not rule over this country as having large collections of wisdom and information that's not privy to everybody else. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure if you went into one of these motherfuckers' libraries, their libraries be sick as fuck. Probably be like the Jedi Temple. You gotta have like a million different codes to access shit. Fucking scan the shit with your eyeball. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. Moving on to the segundo house, the second house. The second house is connected to these three things all at once. It's connected to finances, material possession, and feelings of self-worth. It's basically what we give worth to, right? And it's ruled by Capricorn. And this is... I was going to say it's problematic, but I'll let y'all be the judge of that. Capricorn is all about getting compensation based off of effort put in over time. This is, I guess, a word to sum it all up, investment. You know what I'm saying? Not just within like stocks and bonds. I mean like literally putting in some kind of effort to get back. This is why Capricorn is normally associated with work, jobs, careers, money, blah, 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 money, And so there's a major emphasis on that within said country, United States. Capitalism. That's another C word. There's nothing really present within the second house except for our boy Pluto. United States on February 22nd, 2022, which is a lot of twos. It was a Tuesday, too. A Tuesday, and you can't make this up. It's literally a Tuesday with literal all twos in the date. Fucking ridiculous. The United States entered into its exact actual first Pluto return. All the planets return. Return means that it comes back to the spot it was at the time of its like birth or creation, whatever. But Pluto takes roughly 248 years to return. to go through all the signs and get back to that exact spot it was. And so normally, I mean, unless you got the Fountain of Youth or whatever, people don't experience Pluto returns. Countries, empires, entities do. And also on top of that, the rough estimation for an empire's lifespan is 250 years. This is just two more than a Pluto return. And it might be give or take because it's a rough estimate of 248 years. Where we see Pluto, Pluto is the god of destruction. Wherever it shows up, it changes the game up by wiping shit the fuck out. It's like, oh, this you don't need this anymore. Bye, die. It's like, Pluto deals with death, sex, transformation, rebirth, taboos, and power, personal power that was taken away, and then we get it back. There's two superpowers I feel within a birth chart: Pluto and Saturn. We'll get to Saturn later on. But with Pluto here, and it's retrograde. Retrograde is a phenomenon where a planet appears that it is moving backwards relative to our spot. So basically, if you're driving on a highway, this is the planet. Boom, boom, boom. You start going your own speed. This one goes faster, right? And then after a certain while, traffic starts to be crazy. You're still going the same speed, and this has to slow down a little bit. This is the phenomenon of making it look like it's going backwards. That is why we go retrograde. And with the retrograde, energies are more internal. They require more internal exploration. You got to dive deep to access the power of said planet. So, right? That's retrograde, right? Yeah, it's retrograde. I was checking to see if Pluto was retrograde, and it is. So with that being said, I have a video on the Pluto return for the United States. You can check that out. I'll link it. But pretty much it's suggesting that within the United States, there is a large emphasis on Capricorn-esque things when it comes to our self-worth, when it comes to owning all these cars, these things, these dope ass, piece of property. And basically, if you have those things, then you are worthy. You should give yourself self-worth. Which is why I personally think that that's problematic, because not everybody, subscribes to that mindset. And we're starting to see an emergence of more people who are starting to get rid of that mindset or change that up, giving themselves worth first, and then the other things come, versus the other way around, which is pretty much how it's been for the last 248 years. So that's crazy. Pluto is at 27, right? Yeah, 27 degrees Capricorn, 27 being a Gemini degree, suggesting, communication is a thing. This is also, you can also see this in where it's not what you know, it's who you know and who knows you. Networking seems to be the true way to get by in our capitalist society, thus leading to more finance, thus leading to more material possessions, thus leading to self-worth or worth given by some other entity. Nowadays, in the Pluto return days, technically, you could say that whenever Pluto entered Capricorn was around 2008 that the Pluto return began, but it didn't exactly happen until the degree was hit, which was on February 22nd, 2022. But what happened in 2008? Recession, jobs, shit, all this stuff. From 2008 to now, you've seen a drastic change in how we go about generating income or receiving compensation based off of the effort that we put in over time. Crazy. That's crazy. We're going to move on to the third house. The third house deals with the mind, deals with communication, and it also deals with local neighborhoods, any and everything that you can say is like a, I guess, hometown feeling. Siblings and or people who fit the bill as siblings. So sister, cousin, brother, cousin, sibling, cousin, um, childhood friends, or people that you started off with at a young age. Since we're talking about a country here, this can talk about like childhood or early time allies, like people who were there from the beginning. And the third house for the United States is ruled by Aquarius. Aquarius, an air sign. A lot of people think that Aquarius is a water sign because Aqua is in it, it's water bearer. The thing is our boy Aquarius gave some water to some thirsty ass people who were trying to follow the rules, regs. I'm OD paraphrasing the story, but they're trying to follow the rules and regs. Aquarius is like, nah, fuck that, drink this. Somebody that goes against the grain for the sake of humanity. Aquarius. Unique, following the path not taken. Aquarius. This suggests that, United States has a unique mindset, and they communicate however fuck you want to, call communication. Communication could be actual speech. It could be fucking Morse code. Which, if you think about it, look at all these. I mean, like every military branch in the world, I guess, has some kind of coding and stuff, but there's more than just the military branches if you think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like how many different organizations that are like big within the United States have their own kind of code. Code is a form of like communication, right? But as Aquarius, unique communication, a code that, not everybody's going to understand. There are supposedly, I won't really comment on it that much, but there's supposedly some secret societies that also have their own fucking language. And again, I feel that, if you're a secret society, it's not fucking exclusive to the United States. However, we're talking about the United States, and so this fits the bill. Unique allies, what I'm saying? Unique childhood friends, unique neighborhoods, local neighborhoods, like the major cities of our country here, all have something that is distinguishable. And again, you could say that about other countries, but if you want to talk about like Dallas, Texas, or New York City, the whole fucking world knows about Dallas, Texas, and New York City, or it's heard of, I should say. You know what I'm saying? So it's distinguishable and unique. Things within Dallas, Texas are different than in New York City or Los Angeles, California. What we got in the third house? We've got the South Node. Okay, so the nodes I should talk about. So the nodal axis, the North Node, South Node, also known as Rahu and Ketu. There's many ways of interpreting them, but it's basically stated that the South Node is the energy that you came into this life from your previous life with. So basically you mastered this energy or had a large abundance of it in your previous life or a previous life. And you're now like, top tier with it in this life. The North Node is the energy that you're hoping to, achieve, or the direction you're going in, your destiny, your path, and you're heading in that direction. So I'll come to the North Node later on, but right now we have the South Node in Aquarius. This suggests, before the country's creation, the ones that were giving it life were doing their own thing. You know what I'm saying? They're going against the grain, which if you follow, the history books and stuff, that kind of makes sense, right? Like all this stuff where the people over on other lands were like, yeah, we're not going to be listening and doing all this stuff. We want our own land, traveled the seas and all that, came here to do their own thing, right? Starting their own path. Aquarius going on the path not taken. Does that make sense to me? It is at, I'll tell you right now, 7 degrees Aquarius. And so 7 is a Libra degree. This is sprinkling Libra energy of harmony and relationship on top of it. We've also got the moon, the next of the big three. The moon is Aquarius. That makes perfect sense. So the moon is at 27 degrees Aquarius, again a Gemini degree in the third house. The moon governs our emotions and also our need to be caretaken for, our style of how we caretake, how we give to people, places, and things that we give a shit about. And so Aquarius moons, I feel like, get a really bad rep. Aquarius placements, period, get a bad rep. Because a major staple of the Aquarius energy is to be detached. And here's the thing. I don't necessarily believe that Aquarius people are detached in a sense where they don't give a fuck about somebody, something. It's more so that all the air signs, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, are mental. Mental and communicative are the staples of air, the air element, the air energy, right? And so with Aquarius, it is here to have its mind in the year 3000. Like, it's not really here right now. It's thinking about the shit that is far beyond. You know what I'm saying? Like innovation, which is why Aquarius also rules technology. The United States is one of like the bigger technologically advanced place is on the planet. And a big emphasis on that, you know what I'm saying? So Aquarius deals with that, and Aquarius moon in particular deals with having, you could say, detached emotions, but they're not necessarily detached. They're just not where everybody else is. Their emotions are in the future. They're thinking about shit that hasn't even like happened yet. And so that also ties into how the United States operates, because the United States is a very future oriented country. Again, you can say that for everybody, but think about it. Ever since like you're a little kid, look at me right now and tell me that, you're a little kid, somebody say, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? I'm like 5. I don't even know what the hell grow up means, really. All I'm thinking about is that it means that I am larger than a 5-year-old, and I can reach the apple on the counter without having to ask whoever the hell is taller than me to get it. But there's an emphasis on that. And then we get kind of linked into that emotionally. Ooh, gotta sneeze. If you said bless you, thank you. This always happens when I'm reading. Something is about. So with that being said, you can pretty much just say that there is an emotional investment in progression, in innovation. And the emotional content is kind of ingrained within our minds, third house, for us to really think about, communicate with everybody, especially starting in our local neighborhoods. A lot of people like to start them off when they're young. You see what I'm saying? So that is what it is. The moon is at 27 degrees, another Gemini degree. So again, a Gemini degree in the quote unquote Gemini house. Third house is the quote unquote Gemini house. This is an emphasis on communicating your emotions about the future. Now you can see how sometimes that might be, might riddle some people with anxiety, because what the fuck, what if I don't know about the future? We technically don't know the future. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, it's kind of difficult sometimes to process that. There's some people that fall in line with this like really easily. I'll let you figure out who or what kind of people. And then there's also people who don't. There's always an anomaly. There's always an exception to the rule. But with the United States, it seems that there's an emphasis on trying to figure that out. early, local neighborhoods, early childhood. Moving on to the fourth. The fourth house is the house of our, let's put it this way. The fourth house has to deal with home, hearth, warmth, family, ancestry, and it's one of the three water houses. And the water houses tend to have a connection with psychic phenomenon, um, intuitive phenomenon, things of that nature. Now, the fourth house for the United States is ruled by Pisces. And Pisces is the spirit world, which, if you stop and think about it, this also kind of makes sense because there's a major push for legacy, for leaving something behind, to build the family like tree and the family line, but it's called timeline, some shit like that. And with Pisces, right? Pisces being the spirit world and all things ethereal. This is going one of two ways, I feel. This is a major emphasis on building a legacy and having our ancestors be able to contact us, or leave little guides, little tidbits here and there from the spirit world, right? Or you could say or. You could say that there is a large spiritual connection to those who were here before the people who founded this country, and their spirits are still among us. You see it all the time in a lot of shows and or documentaries and or docu-series that deal with ghosts and or spirits, hauntings, things of that nature. A lot of the time they're in places that were heavily, I guess you could say, affiliated with like Native Americans. And with that being said, a lot of times places are like haunted in these sacred lands that were devastated by the people that came here to found this country. Thus, their spirit, Pisces, is still among us. Fourth house, the ancestors of this country are still among us, spiritually speaking. We don't have that much in the fourth house, so I'm going to move on to the fifth. First stop in the fifth house, we have our second angle. The first one was the rising sign. We all have four angles. Rising sign, the second one is called the IC, the Imim Coeli. Now, the way that I interpret it is that whenever we hit those any of those angles, the angles are placed in four particularly strong areas of life. It's like our rising sign becomes that sign whenever we enter into that area. So the IC, you can typically find it in the bottom part of actually it's always going to be the bottom part of the chart. You can typically find it in house 3, 4, or 5. And we have now entered into the fifth house, which is ruled by Aries for the United States. The IC is at 1 degree Aries, which is an Aries degree. So this is like double Aries. The IC is the angle that's activated when we're in our like private space, any space that we deem to be sanctuary, which is why it's typically normally found around the fourth house, but it can be in the third and or fifth. In this case, it's in the fifth. But it's at 1 degree, so it's like mad close to the fourth, Whenever we're private, whenever we're in our sacred space, whenever we're in a spot that we feel we're like protected in, that's when the IC is activated. The Aries energy, actually, let me do fifth house first. Fifth house is the solar powered house. It's normally the Leo house. It's normally the sun house. Fifth house has to deal with creativity, creative energy, also sex, sexual energy. This is more like casual sex or fun sex. Sex should always be fun, but like This is more, this isn't, this is like less of the expected sex. Like, you're married, people expect you to be, fucking your partner and shit like that. This is not that. This is like sex to fuck. um, for your own pleasure or whatever. Fifth house also deals with my set creativity. I said sexual energy, vitality. So getting energy. Spirits are here because I'm itching again. It's fine. Something always happens to people. You can check this out on YouTube all over the place. Something always happens to people when they're like reading and shit. I don't know why. It's normally either my throat like clogs up or I'm about to sneeze. Some shit always happens, bro. But fifth house deals with those things. Fifth house is also indicative of children. Because if you think about it, children in a literal sense and in a figurative sense. Literal sense being actual kids that, we like birth into the world, yada, yada. But also of a figurative sense because of creations. Thus, it leads back to the creative energy that I was talking about. Life, vitality, life to our creations, life to children. Childlike enthusiasm, whimsical, things of that nature. Okay, boom. So that's fifth house. Aries is the god of war, the warrior. There is another warrior that we'll get to near the end. But this warrior is, think of like, a Viking having a big dick fucking axe just ready to chop and just blah, you know what I'm saying? Aries is very direct. Aries is speed and power. Aries is get the shit done. Fucking, what is the phrase? Shoot first, ask questions later. And this is not necessarily trying to offend anybody with prominent Aries energy, but yo, stop and look in the mirror. Don't do that. Don't be like, oh, I'm an Aries and I never fucking shoot first and ask questions later. That being said, Aries is insanely efficient at getting things done. It is the completionist. It is the conqueror of tasks. It is the conqueror of worlds. And so this can be, indicative of people in the United States having a strong sex drive, or also having the drive to create, the drive to procreate. With the IC here at 1 degree. 1 is an Aries degree, so it's like double Aries. This is suggesting that, when we as people of this country are in our private spaces, then, we may turn up more. We may become more warrior-esque when we feel safe. You know what I'm saying? And that could be interpreted in many different ways. One way in particular that I'm thinking about is keyboard warriors online. You know what I'm saying? Like people they feel super duper, ballsy, I should say, to say whatever the fuck they feel they can say when they feel like safe. And that makes sense. If you're fucking protected, why the fuck not? I'd be like, it's like you're behind like a big ass shield and shit. But like, yeah, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? I ain't gonna do shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you're saying that with a big ass shield right there. Take it with that shield, the fuck you got. You know what I'm saying? So that can be one way of interpreting it. It can also mean that, we as people of this country may feel empowered when we are in our safe and secure areas. Again, the IC is activated in places that we deem to be sanctuary. It doesn't necessarily have to be our home, but any place that we feel safe, that's when like our inner warrior may come out as, people of this country. We've also got Chiron, our only asteroid today. Chiron, the wounded healer, is pretty much like a mini Saturn. This comes from mostly early childhood wounds that we have to learn how to work with and transmute in order to make better, where another planet that I'll get to makes us masters. Chiron makes us experts on this thing that stays with us, whatever the hell it is. And so, with Chiron being here in the fifth house, this may indicate issues with creation, issues with vitality, issues with sex. And all three of those things you can see in the history of everywhere, honestly, but like you can see definitely in the history of this country, issues with vitality. A lot of people are depressed and may not have the energy to move, groove, and do things that they maybe once did have because of something that may have happened to them either younger or something relatively recent that was traumatic, and it kind of zapped their energy. I'll get to the good stuff afterwards, but with sexuality and sex, you see that everywhere. How many different movements have there been made to make what should be obvious acceptance of how people are and how they spend their sexual energy? But this has literally been going on for 248 fucking years. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's quite a problem. And children, it's a million different things with that. I'm not even gonna touch that. But the quote unquote good part of that is because of those negative things that are associated with children, vitality, and sex, sexual energy, etc. We don't just lie down and let the shit happen. We fix it. You know what I'm saying? There's not millions. There's a lot of like movements to continuously better those areas, and there always are gonna be. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a thing that has been continuously practiced and built upon and made available. There's services for all three that I just mentioned, and there's various ways that we as a collective, citizens of this country, members of this country, I don't want to say like members of this country, have made things better. And so that's what Chiron's here to do, is to be like, hey, look, this shit ain't work out when you were younger, you know what I mean? But now you got the skills to pay the bills and fix that up. So hop to. It also, with Chiron being in Aries, there may be either an underabundance of people taking that warrior action, and doing things. That's where you get things like, things that the 1% does that everybody else doesn't do, because the 1% like takes action. You know what I'm saying? They do shit. That's Aries energy. There's also the other half of that where there might be too much action. And that might be with the 1%. It might be with, the quote unquote rich elite, whatever, But there might be too much action, which you can say is where a lot of people get the understanding that only hyperactive people. When I say hyperactive, I mean like action oriented, extroverted. That's not actually what extroversion means, but I'll just use it for this conversation. Extroverted, like people, get ahead and are able to take action and do things and shit like that. That's Chiron. That's a wound, thinking that that's the only way that anybody's supposed to get ahead in life. But that's because, there might be an overabundance of that. So remember, an underabundance or an overabundance of that energy. Moving on to the sixth, we got the sixth house is kind of like the quote Virgo house, dealing with acts of service and also physical well-being, so physical health. It's ruled by Taurus. It's Taurus season at the time of recording of this video. Taurus likes to take his sweet ass time. You know what I mean? Slow and steady wins the race. Very tortoise and the hare-esque. Not necessarily moving at slow speeds, but let's put it this way. If there's somebody let's say we got 3 different people, one of them is Taurus. All 3 have a list of like maybe 3 things to do, right? One might get things done, day by day, step by step. Another might obsess over the details of each thing that needs to be done Taurus might, just an example, but Taurus might wait until the last minute or the closest to the last minute as it can to get things done, but they will. That's one way that will work out, because they take their sweet ass time to understand everything they have to do to get the things done. But here's the thing with Taurus energy, it will be complete, like 112%. They're completionists also. The energy of Taurus is very savory, sensual. It's ruled by Venus. The other sign ruled by Venus is Libra, where Libra is mainly concerned with the aesthetic of things, how things look or appear. The other four senses are under Taurus, which deals with the texture of things, the flavor, the feel, the smell, the sound. All that is Taurus. Taurus indulges. You know what I'm saying? And so with Taurus being here, you really want to take into consideration like what goes down in the area of health and service. Sometimes you could look at it as, maybe things are slow as hell to get done when it comes to being served and or service towards us, the people of this country. Or you can also include that it may be slow sometimes, but there is an emphasis on that being taken care of. Is one of the most prominent jobs in the country is to be, technically it's like everywhere, but is to be in the medical field. Sixth house is very, in my opinion, very medically oriented, because service, physical well-being, medical field. You see what I'm saying? So it's one of the more prominent things. And also with Taurus, again, slow and steady wins the race. It takes a while to get into the medical field. It's not something you could just jump into, right? It's like you gotta fucking spend years in med school and shit like that. So there's that. Nothing really here in the sixth house, but remember, each sign is ruled by a planet. And so let's just recap real fast. The ruler of our first house being Sagittarius, the ruler of that is Jupiter. So if you want to take a look at what's called the chart ruler, because that is the first stop, Jupiter is going to be very important. The ruler of the second house is Saturn. The second house is ruled by Capricorn. Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius. Ruler of the third house is also Saturn, but also Uranus. The modern day ruler of Aquarius is Uranus, is co-ruled with Saturn. The ruler of the fourth house, another double ruled one, is also Jupiter, but also Neptune. So keep an eye on, when you're thinking about fourth house things, keep an eye on where Jupiter is and keep an eye on where Neptune is. Ruler of the fifth house is Mars. Mars rules Aries and Scorpio. And ruler of the sixth, which deals with the health and service, is Venus. So again, you want to look at what all those houses mean: our identity, our self-worth, our mind and communication, our family and ancestry, our vitality, creation, and sex, and our health and physical well-being. Look at the rulers of those planets. You can pause this and go back. All right, so next we got the seventh house, and now we have completed the first half of the chart where it's mainly dealing with the individual. Now we're getting into the other. The seventh house deals with partnerships, marriages, any one-to-one kind of partnership, really. Relationships, things of that nature. The seventh house is ruled by Gemini, and Gemini is ruled by planet Mercury. So if you want to know what's good with the ruler of relationships, check out wherever Mercury is. In this house, we have what's called the descendant, which is our third angle. The descendant is opposite of the ascendant. If the ascendant is what we project into the world, how we identify into the world, the descendant is kind of like Carl Jung was talking about, the shadow side. It is the part of us that we just don't really show, or we don't want to show to everybody else. You know what I'm saying? But people that end up being in relationship with us, partners, marriages, sex spouses, all that other jazz, they can see these parts of us that we kind of shun and hide. Gemini is the energy of the informational one, the one who collects info. Whereas its opposite, which is Sagittarius, all the signs have opposites, and all the signs kind of do the same thing. There is an axis, but they just do it differently. Where Sagittarius was a collector of experience and wisdom, Gemini is a collector of information and communication of said information. So the descendant being at 12 degrees Gemini, also with some Pisces sprinkles on top, is, I feel ones who may be interested in communicating whatever their kind of spirituality is, but then they'll be like too shy or too shameful or whatever to express it. This is evident where there are other kinds of forms of spirituality, such as like, Wiccan practices, witchcraft. I say it with the quotation marks, not to say that that's not real, but like some people hear the phrase witchcraft and they're automatically like, oh my God, this is fucking evil, blah, blah, blah. So take that whatever you will, but the main message is that there may be some people who have, remember, Pisces is spiritual, so spiritual sprinkles on top of communicating. They may not be so forthcoming with saying that stuff out loud. Because the descendant is the part of us that we try to like hide. So maybe some people like have spiritual practices that they hide and they don't communicate that well with their significant others, but the significant others end up finding out. Let's see, we have 2 planets here. We have Uranus. We're going to start with Uranus. Uranus is at 8 degrees. 8 degrees is a Scorpio degree. So dealing with the hidden, the depths of our relationships, dealing with the real nitty gritty of things. Things may be hidden within when it comes to the Uranus energy. So things may not be communicated, actually. There may be hidden depths, hidden truths, that may either be delayed in communication or never said, taken to the grave. Uranus deals with, let's put it this way, all the other planets, for the most part, rotate like this. Uranus goes like this. It does its own fucking thing, which is partly why it is the modern day ruler of Aquarius. It does its own fucking thing. And, with that, we've got an emphasis on doing your own thing in terms of relationships, in terms of what you communicate within relationships, what you communicate to partners, to spouses, to whatever have you, whatever those one-to-one relationships are. Uranus in Gemini is the loss of order, aka chaos. So when it comes to dealing with relationships, things may not necessarily be as orderly as people want them to be. Perhaps the loss of order comes from the communication aspect. Perhaps it comes from us not telling like what our real thoughts on things really are, which might be why you see a lot of people in relationships. You see people post stuff online all the time, like, oh, such and such always lie. I'll let you fill in the blank. Always lie. They never tell the truth and blah, blah, blah. Probably because they feel they can't. Just saying. But there's an emphasis on that within the country. And with Uranus being at 8 degrees, this has to do with hidden depths, things inside of them that they may not necessarily feel, safe to communicate. And perhaps we don't make it so that it's a safe area to communicate those things, which is why it's like a loop, you know what I'm saying? It might be kind of rare. But at the same time, this suggests that if somebody does get to that core, that depth, 8 degrees Scorpio degree, if they get to that core and communicate those things, communicate those path not taken, nonconformist-esque things, then perhaps the relationship can thrive and prosper. This is conjunct the descendant, which is next to it, which means that they share that energy, they boost each other with that energy. We got a utopia right there for a relationship, but it's really going to be real tough if people don't necessarily dive deep into that. The next planet we have here is Mars. Mars in Gemini. Mars at 21 degrees, which yields a Sagittarius degree, which is exploration of other ways, backgrounds, religions, philosophies, etc. So this might be, with Mars, Mars is also the god of war. So again, it's the ruler of the fifth house. So again, all things related to fifth house, go back to that part and watch to learn about this. Mars deals with how we take action. It's our passion, our drive, our anger, how we manage said anger, how we deal with that. And also our physical, sex drive. You know what I'm saying? Like things that we are physically attracted to. And so with this being the case, people in United States or people of the United States might have a physical attraction to, since it's at a Sagittarius degree, might be attraction to people from different backgrounds, exotic people, quote unquote. They may also, with it being in Gemini, has to do with the mind and communication. It might be a strong physical attraction. People have different kind of accents. You know what I'm saying? Even within our own country, and different regions have different accents and stuff. The Southern accent might be stupid, dumb, hard, attractive to a lot of other people who don't share that accent. Vice versa, an accent from somebody from the North, maybe New York or Jersey or something, might be attractive to somebody who's not from those areas. Might do it for them. This is also seen with how the talking phase is when it comes to doing things. Because we're in the seventh house, we're talking about partnerships and things of that nature. Actions kind of come down to I guess how you say things. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so there's a major emphasis on this with Mars and Gemini. Mars in air signs. I don't really think Mars likes to be in air signs. It definitely doesn't like to be in Libra. Mars is in detriment in Libra. But when it comes to air Mars, their actions come from the mind and how they speak. You know what I'm saying? Again, air is big on the mind and communication. So you can see that, there may be a lot of silver tongues in our good old country, United States. People who take action via their communication. They're like, yo, what's good? How you doing? You know what I'm saying? There's an emphasis. Go back and look and see, how people end up securing partnerships. Again, it's not just relationships, to be, boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, spouse. It's not just that. It's any partnership. A lot of partnerships are formed and maybe end when it comes to how things are communicated. And that's evident right here with the United States having not only an air Mars, but a Gemini Mars in the seventh house of dealing with those partnerships. And with it being, again, 21 degrees Sagittarius degree, an expansion of other different backgrounds, religions, philosophies, cultures. All right, on to the 8th. And this is probably the most important house for our good old United States of America. These United States of America. Let's see. We've got, oh dear, Cancer ruling the 8th house. And there there's a big ass Cancer stellium here. All right, so this kind of makes sense. So Cancer, the energy of Cancer, I like to think of the energy of Cancer as being a fortress. I've said this before to the people, clients of my Cancer energy is a fortress. It's a castle. It's a big ass castle. Think about the stuff inside of a castle. Dope ass interior, dope ass food, dope ass parties, galas, balls, and all that other shit. Fly as fuck. People be coming dressed to death, like in castles and shit, right? Big ass mansions, a house, security, which leads me to the outside of the castle. What do you normally see outside of a castle? A fucking moat. The fuck is in a moat? A damn alligator, crocodile, ready to fuck you up if you touch them waters. A drawbridge so that you can't necessarily get to the castle without the bridge being drawn. Then you're gonna fall in the fucking boat and die because the alligator's gonna fuck you up. At the top, we have the archers at the ready. We have catapults at the ready. We have, soldiers on the ground, warriors and knights, big ass swords and blades, ready to fuck up whoever comes to the castle. You see what I'm saying? The emphasis is on protection of the castle. Think about that for the entire country. This is the largest stellium in the United States chart. Think about that. Think about how much emphasis there is on building a home and protecting said home. Think of how much emphasis there is on security. Think of how much emphasis there is on protection of your home or the places that you deem to be sanctuary. And you may stop and think like, well, shouldn't that always be the case? Sure. But think about it for United States. Think about all the sales and stuff they see on commercials. Think about all the advertisements for retirement plans, for putting down payments on houses, putting down payments on this. Think about all the things you see relating to security systems for your houses. Think about all of that. Cancer energy. The crab strikes. Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon's in the third house. So just go back and put those two together. We've got a major stellium here, man. We've got the sun, Venus, Jupiter, and retrograde Mercury. It's probably the most famous retrograde of all time. Let's start with the sun. The sun, the last of the big three. I like to think of the sun as our skin tone and texture. You wake up in the morning, you see your skin tone and texture, it's boom, it's right there. It's readily identifiable, very readily identifiable. And, it's just down for the get down. The sun is in my opinion, our core estimated value system. It is what we really value on the inside the most, more than like anything. Some people tend to take the sun sign thing as being the one true thing and the only thing, which is why astrology gets kind of messed up, because some people don't associate themselves with their sun sign. And the sun sign being the most famous one, I'm of the opinion, because the sun is the fucking largest thing in the goddamn sky. It's bigger than Jupiter. It's bigger than all of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it makes sense. But we're not just that. That being said, the sun is still insanely important. The sun is at 13 degrees Cancer, 13 being an Aries degree. So again, an emphasis on just plow in your face, plow in your face, plow in your face, making that shit happen, making it happen, making the fortress happen, making the family happen, making the fourth house, the moon, and Cancer are all related to each other. And so with Cancer being here, the sun being in Cancer, there's a major emphasis on building your family and making sure that your castle's protected and all those other things, which can be a joyous thing, but it also can be quite problematic for those who are of this country who don't share those ambitions. With it being, again, at an Aries degree, there's a large emphasis to, go for it. Aries is the go-getter, making the shit happen, motherfuck, square up. You know what I'm saying? And the eighth house, I didn't even talk about what the eighth house is. The eighth house is the house of intimacy. It's the Scorpio house, the house of, once again, death, sex, transformation, rebirth, power, but also of taxes. So debt, other people being in your debt, other people being the debt themselves, other people's resources, or other people as resources. So think about that, and think about how much of an emphasis the United States has on debt, keeping people in debt, using other people as resources from their debt. It's a major emphasis on that. That's not all doom and gloom, you know what I'm saying? Like family, home, hearth, and sex. Well, maybe not taboos, but I don't say taboos are a good thing, but they're taboo for a reason. All those things are good, except the taboos and shit that I was saying, and the death. But death doesn't necessarily mean like physical death of the body. It's normally talking about moving from one stage to the next, transformation. And so with the sun being here, there's a major emphasis on those things. A major emphasis on being intimate. You know what I'm saying? Intimacy can only really happen in, a spouse kind of way. That's what is espoused or professed within the country of the United States. Like, a lot of people lose their shit whenever people are having extramarital sex or not being married and fucking. They lose their shit. And I'm like, why? But that's what's professed in, this country. We've also got, what should I start with next? So many, Jesus. Let's do the chart ruler. The chart ruler is Jupiter, since the United States is a Sagittarius rising. The chart ruler is Jupiter. Jupiter is at 5 degrees Cancer, 5 degrees being a Leo degree. Here's another tidbit. I forgot to mention this before. I mentioned that every sign has a ruler, right? So if a planet is in their ruling sign, that's called being at home, rulership, or domicile. They also have the opposite of that, which is called being in detriment. If they're in the opposite of their ruling sign, it's in detriment, suggesting that the planet, whatever the planet does, may struggle with doing whatever it does, and the entity has to get creative. For example, if I said Mars rules Aries, right? So if Mars was actually in Aries, Mars would be at home. The opposite of Aries is Libra. So if Mars was in Libra, it would be in detriment, and it would be really tough. It'd be really tough for those that have those kind of energies to take action. They would need to get creative with how they take action. The other side of that is that there is something called being exalted. Exalted is not the planet's home, but it's like its favorite place, or its second favorite place, or maybe even its first favorite. And it does really well in that sign. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. If Jupiter was in Capricorn, the opposite of Cancer, it would be in fall, meaning suggesting that it would operate. It'd be a little bit more difficult for it to do its thing. What is this thing that Jupiter does, ask you? Glad you asked. Jupiter, big Jupiter, is the planet of our luck, our abundance, our fortune, and it's also the planet of expansion. So again, I mentioned that before with Sagittarius, the expansion, right? Jupiter being the largest planet is big fucking deal. This suggests that there is a major emphasis on the expansion of home, hearth, family related things, Cancer related things. Also an expansion on intimacy, between people who create these families and create these home structures. There's also an emphasis on debt and other people's resources, other people as resources. Mars being at 5 degrees is a Leo degree. Leo energy likes to stand out, shine, be here. I'm here, motherfucker. Yes, look at me. Look at my sexy ass house. And look at my fucking, my picket fence and my fucking amazing nuclear family and all this other jazz. And also look at the fucking debt that I've accrued from maybe attending college or something like that. Just throwing that out there. But there's an emphasis on an expansion of that. Perhaps there's even expansion on like showing off how somebody gets out of debt. Maybe they got out of debt by using other people. Maybe they got out of debt by using, method. Maybe they just paid it off, whatever. But there's an expansion of, showing off said intimacy when it comes to exalted Jupiter in Cancer in the 8th house for the United States. We've also got Venus in Cancer. Venus is at 3 degrees Cancer. 3 is a Gemini degree, so an emphasis on communicating how we feel. Venus is the goddess of love. What we love, what we have an affinity for, what we love so much that we spend our money on. So Venus is big on money as well. Money, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just want money. Just say you want money. 10 points if you know where that's from. With Venus in Cancer, there's a magnetization toward the quote unquote American dream of, being financially like stable, free, whatever, but also of having that home-esque, nurturing-esque feeling. The energy of Cancer is that of the nurturer. So, the inside of the castle, again, it's full of nurturing things. Dope ass parties, dope ass food, dope ass people. Nurturing. However, there's also the emphasis on the protection of said goods within the castle. And so with that being stated, it's heavily communicated with the 3rd degree, that Gemini degree, that, you gotta have a family. You gotta have a house. You gotta have this, that, the third. All of those Cancer related things are heavily communicated, heavily professed within the country. Venus being in the 8th house is kind of similar to being Venus in Scorpio, which is meaning like Scorpio is a sign of extremes. 8th house is also a sign of extremes. But there's also an emphasis on things being hidden here in the 8th house. So yeah, there's an expansion of acquiring said family, acquiring said house, acquiring said intimacy. But there's also an emphasis on hidden things going on. And I mean like physically hidden, like, behind the scenes type shit within the country of the United States. And so with that being said, it's like, it's not, again, to just doom and gloom the United States and the things that it wants to profess, but it's good to know that there is an emphasis on like things are hidden within people's homes, things are hidden within people's sanctuaries, which, is their sanctuary, do what the fuck you want, right? But there is an emphasis on that. And coupling that, the reason why it's more important to remember that is because you want to know if there's such an emphasis on this happening, you want to know as many details about it as possible, you know what I'm saying? Not just be kind of suckered into doing this because everybody says it's the thing to do. That being said, I forgot to mention this for Mars, but for Venus, it's also like who we're attracted to and things of that nature. People that, in this case, give off a either mysterious vibe, so 8th house stuff, and or a Cancer-like vibe, which is more of a family person, family-oriented vibe, which is why, you might see a lot of people, all these like posts all over the place, dear future such and such, I want this, that, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. Or my favorite one, if it ain't like this, I don't want it. There's an emphasis on bridging that gap and making that family-esque orientation happen. You know what I'm saying? So people might be attracted to people who are minded like that. Mars, going back a house, is what we might be physically attracted to within a person, sexually attracted to. So there might be an emphasis on somebody having, great communication skills, seeing how Mars is in Gemini has to do with communication. And it's also at the Sagittarius degree. So again, it might be an attraction to people that have the different kind of accents or might be from different backgrounds, religions, philosophies, etc. Now, back to the 8th. The last planet in here is Mercury retrograde. Again, the most famous retrograde of all time. Mercury goes retrograde at least 3 or 4 times a year. So there tends to be a lot of people that are born with natal Mercury in retrograde. Mercury deals with, I've said it before for Gemini, I've said it for the 3rd house, I'm saying it again here, the mind and communication. There is an emphasis on the communication aspect when it comes to Mercury because Mercury is the messenger. Gemini is more of the mentalist and thinking of the thoughts and things. And Mercury is the communicator. The thing is, the phrase, don't shoot the messenger, I'd be honest, I really don't know where that came from. But I can see why somebody would say that because messengers just say the shit. You know what I'm saying? They deliver the news, whether it's good or bad or in between. And they're very neutral. Mercury is a very neutral planet. The signs that it rules are Virgo and Gemini. Gemini tend to just say shit kind of like, it's not necessarily, it's neutral. It's neutral because it can be, somebody might receive whatever they say in a way that may, be offensive. But a good deal of times, Gemini's not necessarily trying to be offensive, just saying the shit, they're just saying what the fuck's on their mind and communication. Virgo is a little bit down the road, we'll get to Virgo, but one of the things to deal with Virgo is very detail oriented. If something is not in order or something is not, the way it's supposed to be, Virgo's gonna fucking let you know. Virgo energy is gonna let you know. They're simply like, that's not supposed to be there. You know what I'm saying? And not everybody might take that well. But it shouldn't be there. You know what I'm saying? That's what Virgo, the Mercury signs aren't trying to deal with how you feel. They're trying to tell you what it is. Now, with Mercury being in retrograde, this is when think about it, all the times that Mercury goes retrograde, it's hard for people to communicate, which is why a lot of people don't like that time. This may be indicative of why there's such a strong push for us to do these Cancer-like things, form the home, form the family, form the fortress, etc. But communicating those things tends to get in our way. A lot of dating apps, we have apps to fucking date, you know what I'm saying, instead of just communicating with people, because there's a large emphasis on how we communicate. You don't want to say the wrong thing, which is true. You don't want to say the wrong thing. But with Mercury retrograde being like, the energy of the country, kind of hard not to, you know what I'm saying? Mercury is at, where the fuck is it? 24 degrees Cancer. 24 is Pisces degree. And so, again, another indication of spiritual energy laced with how we speak, but it's retrograde, so we have to dive deep to really get out what it is we're trying to say. Also, with Mercury being in the 8th house, you know what I'm saying, communication of taboos or lack thereof, you know what I'm saying, it's kind of like an oxymoron with this large-ass Cancer stellium, because the Cancer energy wants to form a secure home base, but it's in the 8th house, which is hidden and shit, and deals with like not necessarily underhanded dealings, but like dealings under the table, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like hard to reach said harmony when the thing being espoused is to do the shit like underhandedly. Not that all 8th house energy is underhanded. It's more that it requires a lot of depth to truly understand it. So there's nothing really surface level. It's kind of fake surface level with this whole energy being here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's espoused for us to communicate, think about, and communicate Mercury. You know, how we want to make our home base, right? Cancer energy. But it's rarely done in a genuine way. It's just said that you should just make a family. It's never said why. It's never said, like, there's some things, there's benefits, but you know what I'm saying, even with all the benefits in the world, there's still people who just truly don't gravitate towards that agenda. And a lot of times they're ostracized for that. This might be why. Oh, just kidding. We have a mathematical point. The part of fortune, which is a little bit of Arabic astrology. It's one of the lots. It's also called lot of fortune. There's many lots. We're going to do the fortune. Part of fortune is kind of like a mini Jupiter, in which case you get rewards whenever you lean into the energy of the house, the sign, or if a planet passes the exact degree of the part of fortune, which is 26 degrees Cancer, 26 being a Taurus degree. Yes, Taurus degree. So again, another smooth, steady, wins the race kind of energy, savory energy. Part of fortune is the point in between the sun, moon, and rising sign in a person or entity's chart. With that being said, it's suggested that whenever something passes 26 degrees Cancer, that, you know, the entity, the country, would get a gift of some kind. Leaning into the energies of the 8th house, hidden things, intimacy things, you know, tax, debt, paying off said debt. There's a lot of programs to help people pay off that debt. And, you know, paying off your debt feels fucking great. Feels fucking great. You know what I'm saying? That in and of itself is a gift. So that might actually, that might actually be like why, you know, there's such an emphasis on there, because perhaps there is a push to, you know, have people experience that feeling. Not everybody does it, and some people get trapped or even drowned from said debt. But that feeling of paying off debt, man, that shit is orgasmic, which is linked to the 8th house, sex, death, sex, transformation, rebirth. You see what I'm saying? A lot of these things are linked. You also get a lot of rewards for doing things to form the family. Think about people when they file taxes together, married joint people, right? They file taxes together and they get back a lot more. When you have kids, you form the family, you have kids, you get way more money back during tax season, which is under the 8th house. The more you know. All right, it's time. We're on to the 9th house. The 9th house has to deal with higher learning. The 9th house deals with learning about different cultures, religious backgrounds, philosophies, ways of life, etc. And it's ruled by Leo. Leo is ruled by the sun. So look to the Cancer vibes, because the sun is in there, to understand really what's going on with the 9th house here. We've got the North Node here. So earlier we talked about the South Node, the energy that of the past life, or the progenitors of the country in this case, had. And now the direction that the country's heading is to shed light. Leo vibes, performer vibes, king, queen, sovereign vibes onto wherever it's heading. The energy of Leo, as I mentioned before just now, king, queen, sovereign energy. Bow down before me, peasant. This is the energy of Leo. The ruler, the king, the queen, the sovereign. You ever seen a bummy looking ruler? No, because Leo energy is very, 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 I don't want to say fixated, but I'm going to say it, fixated on the look, the feel. I have to be fly as fuck. You know why? Because I am fly as fuck. It's a little bit different. It's nuanced than the Libra energy. But Libra kind of does a similar thing. But with Leo, the energy here is to, in a healthy way, lead by example. Do you see how awesome I am? You too can be this awesome. That's like pretty much Leo energy. If you think about it, a lot of the stuff is professed here in the United States, like a lot of advertisement and things of that nature. You too can be a somebody. Just dial us now, 800 888 8888, and you too can be a somebody. You know what I'm saying? That's a very Leo like thing to do. Leos, I don't want to say rule with an iron fist. It's more like they rule with a golden fist. You know what I'm saying? They make it so that, you know, people are, all eyes are on them. A lot of people get the energy of Leo mixed up with being narcissistic. It's not necessarily narcissistic. It's just that, yo, they're the coolest and you should know. And the reason they ultimately want you to know is because they want to, I feel, they want to share their secrets with you. They don't want to just be the flyest and everybody looks up to, like, yeah, but not forever. You know what I'm saying? They want the spotlight on them. So a healthy Leo energy anyway, to help you, whoever you are, be that fly. So with the North Node being here, North Node being at 7 degrees Leo, this is a Libra degree, so it's double emphasis on that looking fresh to death kind of thing. You know, you always want to dress your best. You always want to do this and the third. And again, you can argue that that's for every country in the world, but yo, United States is really big on appearance. Really big on appearance. Really big on appearance. And the ways of others, which is the ninth house, and learning these ways of others comes from things that you see, such as like fashion shows. You know what I'm saying? The fashion shows are big from like other countries. You learn and or acquire fashion taste from other places in the world, which is really big with this ninth house Leo energy and the North Node heading in that direction. Also, the North Node pushing us all to be king, queen, sovereigns. You know what I'm saying? The American dream. All right, we got the 10th house, next ruled by Virgo. 10th house has to deal, well, it should be ruled by Virgo. 10th house has to deal with our careers. It's the career house. Also the public image, but I'll get to that a little bit more when we get to the midheaven, which is in the next house. So public careers, how we're seen by the public based off of like what we do. We've got Lilith and Neptune here in Virgo. Virgo energy has to do with like 3 things. I mentioned detail orientation earlier, but I mean detail orientation. This is the most detail oriented sign, period. There is no sign more detail-oriented than Virgo. There is no energy more detail-oriented than Virgo because the structure is important if you want things to get done. I've made my list and I've checked it thrice. You will follow the fucking rules. Or else. You ever seen like Timmy Turner's dad and fucking Fairly Odd Parents? Or else. Like that's... Oh, Virgo. We've got, should I do Lilith first? Yeah, fuck it. So Lilith has a million different interpretations, a million different stories. Basically, Lilith is the first woman, not Eve in the Garden of Eden. And some say, I'll just say the bootlegged version of the story, where it's like, you know, Lilith wanted to consummate their marriage by pretty much being on top, marriage to Adam and Lilith. And Adam was like, nah, man, fuck that. I'm supposed to be on top. I'm the man. You know what I'm saying? So Lilith was kicked out in the Garden of Eden. And the reason that's important is because there is a strong sexual energy when it comes to Lilith. It's a strong dark energy when it comes to Lilith. Lilith has been demonized throughout many cultures and many interpretations. That's why I just told that little quick story real fast. This is powerful feminine energy. This is the reclamation of powerful feminine energy. Now, and you can see this. You can see this in everything, where we're currently in the era of unfortunately, of the patriarchy, which tends to put down a lot of feminine energy and women in general, and that's horrible. It's not okay at all. But Lilith is a symbol for a lot of people that have abundant feminine energy. A lot of women. Because Lilith is, again, the reclamation of that. It's the disdain of something, and at the same time, it's adoration. Those two energies create Lilith. Lilith is the disdain of, in the case of the story, disdain of not being allowed to be on top, but also the adoration of sex in that story. You know what I'm saying? So wherever Lilith is, sign or house, people may have an adoration of it, but also a disdain of it simultaneously. With Lilith being in Virgo, there may be an adoration of detail orientation, being of service, and or physical well-being. A lot of Virgo energy people are, I don't want to say obsessed, but connected to work, doing things, being of service to an entity that they deem worthy. They're also connected to physical well-being. So you might see, so it depends on like where the person has, if they have any planets or anything in Virgo, but you might see a Virgo be super duper clean with their desk and the things that they have to do for work, but in their house, it may not be so clean. Depending on where Virgo is. If it's like a Virgo moon or something, it might be the other way around. It might be that the desk is messy, but the house is fucking spotless. But anyway, that is a major emphasis on Virgo energy, and having Lilith here suggests a disdain, but also adoration for those things. I hate fucking messy ass rooms. Other people's messy ass rooms. Not mine. You know what I'm saying? It might even be messy, but it's never dirty. The energy of Virgo is also very, very sexual. You know what I'm saying? Virgo and Scorpio used to be the same sign. They were split, and Libra was put in the middle. So a lot of emphasis on sexual energy there. A lot of energy, especially with Lilith. Lilith in Virgo, Christ almighty. Lilith in Virgo is a lot of like, when you think of dark, some people think of like harmful things or evil things, but really it should be looked at as hidden, like not seen. That's what the dark is. Literally, the darkness is absence of light. So it's harder to see. Dark feminine energy with Lilith here suggests a dark feminine twist or way. I don't want to say twist as if it's like a perversion, but it kind of like sexual energy, sexual favors, sexual service, And so, you can see the disdain of the country, United States, on things like sex workers, because, Lilith is a dark feminine size sexual energy in Virgo, which is also a sexual energy, which also is, very service oriented sex work. And there's such a big deal about sex workers, and it's really not a big deal if you think about it. This is in the 10th house also of careers and things of that nature. You see what I'm saying? So that's just an example of how Lilith might manifest in the professings. I don't know if that's a word. Somebody tell me in the comments of the country, United States. Lilith is at 19 degrees, which is a Libra degree. Yep, Libra degree. So again, another emphasis on partnership, a disdain of partnership, but also an adoration of partnership, harmony, existing at the same time. We've also got Neptune here, Neptune in the 10th, and in Virgo. Neptune is nebulous. Neptune is the modern day ruler of Pisces. So again, look towards the fourth house, because Neptune rules modernly Pisces. And Neptune deals with the spirit world as well. Neptune, Pisces, and the 12th house. Spirit world. Neptune is at 22 degrees Virgo, 22 being a Capricorn degree. And it's in the 10th. So this is, that's an interesting little connotation going on there with millennials. So I'll bring that back into play in a minute. But Neptune deals with illusions and delusions. But the illusions and delusions, I'm of the opinion that they don't come into play, or they're defogged, demystified, distorted when dispersed, I should say, when we get in touch with our real spiritual selves. If we're not in touch with our spiritual selves, Neptune fogs the shit out of us, fogs the fuck out of us, making us think that we want one thing, but we don't. With it being in Virgo, an earth sign, there may be some kind of spiritual connection to following rules, regs, to being detail oriented, to being not necessarily obsessed, but involved with physical well-being, to being of service. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. There is a major thing, being of service. Why don't you join such and such? I won't fill in the blank. You fill in the blank. Join the blank today, and you too can be somebody. See what I said? I brought it back from before. Join this, join that, be of service. This is the highest honor that you can possibly have. You see what I'm saying? And that's not bad. It's not bad necessarily. It's not. But again, these are the things that are professed within our country, within the country, if you're, again, not from the United States or not in the United States. With it being at a Capricorn degree in the 10th house, which is the Capricorn house, there's a major emphasis on having your spirituality be linked to your job or your occupation. Whatever it is that you do, you can only really feel spiritually fulfilled in your job. Whatever it is that you do, that is a major push in this country. Now, to bring it back to millennials, the people who, this was brought to my attention by another astrologer, the people who the founders of the country ran away from, not ran away from, but ended up fighting to form the country, those people were Pluto and Leo generation. Pluto and Leo generation also happens to be a great majority of baby boomers. The people that started the country were born under Pluto and Scorpio, which also happens to be a major majority of millennials. Here's where it bridges it together. One of the major placements, outer planet placements for a great deal of millennials is Neptune in Capricorn. Capricorn is the normal ruler of the 10th house. The country's Neptune is at a Capricorn degree, thus suggesting a connection with the creation of this country and the group of people known as millennials and how we get things done. There's often arguments about millennials. You fucking millennials, get out there and get a real job. Why don't you work? Why don't you work? You fucking millennials, fucking do some work. Tell me there isn't. Lie and tell me there isn't. But with this, we see that is an age-old thing, and it's come full circle with the creation of millennials. Anyway, long story short, with Neptune, there's an emphasis on having your spirit connected to your job and also being insanely detail oriented with it. Think about how many jobs have a large amount of overtaxing details that are very overwhelming for a lot of people. Some people thrive in that, some people don't. On to the 11th, and we've got the midheaven, which is the highest point in the sky. Midheaven normally is found in house 9, 10, or 11, mainly normally found in house 10 because it deals with, this is considered to be the second rising sign. So where the first rising sign, the original rising sign, is like the energy we put out into the world and our seen and felt. The MC, the medium coeli, the midheaven, is the energy that we, protrude or comes out of us when all eyes are on us for whatever fuck reason. This is in Libra. This is 1 degree Libra. The 11th house deals with groups and organizations, also things related to humanity, humanitarianism, normally ruled by Aquarius. This energy, with the MC being at 1 degree Libra, I'm talking about Libra now. Libra is the energy of harmony, balance. It's the only fucking sign that is an object, which is fucking scales. You know what I'm saying? Harmony, balance, union, charm. Has to do with Libra. A lot of people don't like Libra energy because they feel it's being fake. The reason they feel it's being fake is because the energy of Libra will say and do things to make things copacetic and make things harmonious, and sometimes won't necessarily say what the fuck is really on their mind. Here's the thing: the opposite of Libra is Aries. So you know what I'm saying? Like if you push somebody to slide on down to that Aries energy, you're probably gonna get some bullshit you didn't want to fucking get, because Aries will fuck you up. Libra will fuck you up, but they'll be diplomatic about it first. Which is another big thing with the energy of Libra, is like diplomacy and being peacemaking, peace-oriented anyway. With the midheaven being at an Aries degree, this is like the best of both worlds, charging forth with peace. Pretty sure that sounds familiar. I'll just leave it at that. On to the other things within the 11th house, groups and organizations. We've got Saturn here. Saturn is a difficult taskmaster. Saturn deals with limitations and restrictions, but necessary limitations and restrictions. And it's also father time. Saturn, wherever Saturn is, it limits so that you can later have. Like, this is major investment energy, but it's like playing the long game. Saturn tests often when this thing called the Saturn return comes. Again, all the planets return, but the further away you get from the sun, the longer it takes for them to do it. Saturn returns every 20 and a half years. 20 and a half to 30 is the Saturn return time. 58 and a half to 60, 88 and a half to 90, so on and so forth, especially with entities such as a country, such as the United States. Saturn is exalted in Libra, so it has 2 exaltations, which might, give nod to why the United States is such a prominent country. 2 exaltations is working with some strong ass energy, you know what I'm saying? Does that have anything else that's like, no, not really. Most of the shit's in fucking Cancer. Saturn likes to be in Libra because Saturn likes structure. Saturn wants you to create your own code of conduct. Code of conduct meaning to know where to put the limits here and there. You know what I'm saying? It's basically the training wheel phase, and it's telling you where to apply your levels of balance so you don't need the training wheels anymore. You know what I'm saying? That's how Saturn works. It takes a while for it to do it, but it likes being in Libra. I'm going to go with it likes being in Libra because Libra, again, is all about balance and harmony. Taking some off of here so that this can be at the same level. You know what I'm saying? And Saturn loves that shit. Saturn being in the 11th house is also indicative of groups and organizations that, there's an emphasis on building harmony within whatever those groups and organizations are for. And with it, again, 11th house is humanitarianism. So like, this is the collective consciousness. Think about how many groups and organizations there are, how many, I'm just going to say organizations there are within the country to provide service, to provide some kind of equilibrium for something that needs to be done. Stop and think about that. It's a major emphasis on it. Saturn is at 14 degrees Libra, which is a Taurus degree. So again, slow and steady wins the race. Things happen. It takes a while. Some people come together. They form this great organization. They start to work on the problem to keep things more balanced and copacetic and harmonious. That happens a lot. And the last house is the 12th house, which houses 1 through 11 all dealt with the physical realm. House 12 deals with the spirit realm. The ancient astrologers just call this the house of evil spirits and all that. I'm of the opinion that the ancient astrologers, any and everything that had to do with work of any kind, was deemed as like bad or malicious. The 12th house has to deal with our inner spirit, our inner world. Our spirit world is the collective unconscious, being connected to the ether of everything. It's the most misunderstood house because it's the hardest to explain. That being said, we're going to jump in. The 12th house for the United States is ruled by Scorpio. Scorpio deals with, here we go again, death, sex, transformation, transmutation, rebirth, power. Taboo. That's really big. Taboo. I said sex also. And the 12th house, anything that lands in the 12th house is not readily accessible. It's hidden. It's hidden different than the hiddenness of the 8th house. The 8th house hides things like fucking shoving it under a rug or behind a wall or something. The 12th house hides because it's inside of you and you need to look deep within, which is work, which is why I'm assuming that the ancient astrologers were like, this is bad. The 12th house is linked with hospitals, jails, and asylums, which is really fucking big in this country. I'm just saying. Right? And Scorpio deals with a lot of things hidden in the dark. And a lot of people don't like to dabble in that. It's also why, there's a lot of big emphasis on people being like, oh, those criminals over there. Those fucking criminals. And da-da-da. But you don't know if that person's a criminal because they were just trying to feed their child. Which doesn't necessarily excuse any kind of criminal activity. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And there's a major emphasis on kind of condemning people without actually taking the time to understand them. Scorpio is depth. Scorpio is purity. Scorpio is purity. It is power. How many people obtain their true power when they get deep with themselves? A lot, if they can do it. But there's also a major emphasis on kind of keeping us keeping us away from diving deep. I think Scorpio being in the 12th house is one of it's scary as fuck because Scorpio is scary as fuck. But this is Power City, man. And it makes sense that there's a large push to kind of hide that from other people. Think about it. Advertisements everywhere. Social media is everywhere. And social media, again, is worldwide. It's not just here in the United States. But fucking... there's a lot of things that capitalism on, things such as social media, things such as keeping our attention focused on things. How many times has something happened here in the good old US of A to distract us from something else happening, or to distract us from not even something else happening, just from ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, media is very powerful. It's a large distraction. It's informative, but it's a fucking distraction. The 12th house has to deal with isolation. A lot of people, like monks, go to the top of mountains and shit to meditate and stuff, and they find themselves because there are no distractions. In the anime Gundam Wing, Treize Kushranada said that there is nothing more beautiful and noble than a warrior with no distractions. And That's because like when we access the 12th house, we access our true power. And Scorpio being here suggests that there's a lot to uncover. Scorpio deals with the dark, but Scorpio's purity, because the true essence of things are found in the dark. You can't be whole without having the whole piece, right? And so I feel it's a major emphasis on trying to keep people in the dark, and not tap into their darker sides, their shadowy sides. But the people that do end up holding great power, because they were able to, dive deep and figure that out. Something I failed to mention, but I'm going to unfail that and say succeeded, because I'm about to mention it right now. Also, back in the day, ancient astrologers would look at, charts, take a quick glance and see if someone had a day chart or a night chart. This is found by looking at the relation to the sun as opposed to the, but in relation to the rising sign. If it is below the rising sign, or normally in houses, for the most part, 1 through 6, then the person is a night chart. If it's above the horizon, or in houses 7 through 12, for the most part, then the person is a day chart. The United States sun is in the 8th house, which is above the horizon, which is a day chart. The team leader for day charts is the sun. So people with day charts tend to act more like their sun sign. People with night charts tend to act a little bit more like their moon sign. And the moon takes a little bit more to get to know somebody with, right? The people with day charts, there's 2 sets of planets called benefics and malefics. Benefics give you shit for pretty much free. Malefics, it's not free at all, but you have to bust your ass to get something from it, but it's really worth it. And it's, in most cases, they give you, once you bust your ass, they give you more than the benefics do. The 2 main benefics are Venus and Jupiter. The 2 main malefics are Mars and Saturn. The way that they play out with distribution of goods varies based off of what chart somebody has. So for the United States, being a day chart, the main benefic is going to be planet Jupiter, and the secondary one's going to be Venus. Now, both of them are all in the 8th house and all in Cancer. So fucking Cancer season is just big as fuck for the United States. 4th of July, Independence Day, all that. Think of it like this: Jupiter will give shit for $0.00, free 99, and Venus will give shit for $2.99. Not expensive, but not free. The malefics, Mars and Saturn. Mars in a day chart is less friendly. It's been said because of the actual temperatures of those planets. During the day, shit tends to heat up, right? Mars is already a hot and dry ass planet. Heat equals not fun. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Saturn is a cool and icy planet. So Saturn is normally more friendly, quote unquote, to day chart individuals, or entities in this case, because, warming up something that's cool tends to, bring better equilibrium, and vice versa. Night chart Saturn is not that friendly at all. Not friendly anyway, but you know what I'm saying? And Mars, it's a little bit more friendly for night charts. So United States being day chart, Saturn, let's say Saturn costed $1,000. There's a discount. You get half off, $500. It's not a lot, you know what I'm saying? But it's not $1,000. Whereas with Mars, there is no discount. Whatever the not friendly malefic is for the type of chart, there's no discount. Mars, because it's the lesser malefic, let's say it's $500. Still, there's no discount, flat ass $500. But Saturn also is costing $500 too, so you don't spend that much. It's more friendly. Now, this has been the birth chart reading of the United States of America. I am Thrice Majestus, the Major Astro Head. Thank you for your time.